It is time for some first half grades for the Chicago Bears. We're at the halfway point of the season and on the bye week for the Bears. And so it is time for me to hand out some grades. What is going on, y'all? Fox Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL. And here to talk about my very own Chicago Bears. So how this is going to go is I'm going to go through all of the major players and coaches involved here again and give everybody a grade on how they've done through the first half of the season, and give you a quick little snippet of my analysis, and then break it down by kind of the major groups. We'll go offense, defense, special teams, coaching, etc. So let's get into it. All right, here we go. We'll start with the coaches, and we'll obviously talking about Matt Nagy here. Now, again, we could talk about Bill Lazor, a couple of the other coaches, like special teams coach who ended up being the coach when Matt Nagy was out due to COVID. But for the most part, this is about Matt Nagy, okay? And I'm giving Matt Nagy a big fat F. All right, I'm doing it. I'm giving it an F. And now you might be thinking, Fies, you're giving Matt Nagy an F when the Bears have 3 wins on the season and you got coaches out there like Dan Campbell for the Lions who are winless and have 0 wins. Yes, I am, because it is all about expectations, all right? Dan Campbell is in the first year of a rebuild with a garbage Detroit Lions team that everybody knows their roster is garbage, and he's trying to make it work. And so for them to be winless, even though it's bad, it's expected. Matt Nagy is in the 4th year of his offense, and we still don't see any changes with Matt Nagy in this offense. It's still the same boring old offense that doesn't do anything special, doesn't put up points. He's unorganized, meaning his players get penalized all the time. We saw that a bunch of times during the Steelers game, even though some of those penalties obviously weren't warranted. But for the most part, I've seen no growth. And this was a make-it-or-break-it year for Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy should have been fired last year, but he got one last chance, all right? One last chance, and through the first half of the season, he's failed. He's failed, folks. I'm sorry, because here's the thing. Even if the Bears lose the same amount of games that they lose, and they're still 3-6, but their offense put up points, they were close, and we saw growth, I would have said Matt Nagy maybe, okay, deserves to stay, giving him a much better grade. So this is not just based off of win or loss record. This is based off of growth, and I haven't seen any from Matt Nagy. It's time for him to go. Could a miracle happen in the second half of the season? Maybe, but I'm not counting on it. I'm done with Matt Nagy. He gets a big fat F, all right? Let's move on to the offense. And you know what? Real quickly before the offense, if you guys want me to give a grade for Ryan Pace, I'll give Ryan Pace a B. Maybe a C+. Again, there wasn't really much for him to do. Could he have signed another running back when Monty went out? Sure, but again, we had Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert, and that ended up being the right case to keep them because Khalil Herbert turned into a stud. So for the most part, Ryan Pace, I can't really give him a grade because his grade was in the offseason, and I thought he nailed that out of the park because of the draftees and what he did in the draft. So I'm going to put Ryan Pace aside for a second, all right? Let's go to the offense. We'll start obviously with Justin Fields. And my grade for Justin Fields through the first half of the season is a B. Now look, if you get an A, you're pretty much a home run at this point, and you are, the best rookie quarterback out there, and you have surpassed all expectations. Justin Fields, as much as I love him and I'm excited for him, has had a few bad games, right? He's had good games, but he's had bad games too. The Browns game wasn't good, right? We know that. The Bucs game was not good. And so, again, that's fine. That's the growth, right? You go through these struggles so you can come out on top. But I'm going to give Justin Fields a B, and he's trending up. But I'm going to give him a B so far for his performance. I love what I've seen from him, but we can't be oblivious to the fact that he has not been flawless, to say the least, right? He's turning the football over. He's, been erratic with this play a little bit. But again, he's a rookie quarterback who's growing, who's thrown into the fire, and hopefully his growth continues. Last few games before the bye week was really, really playing well, and hopefully this B turns into A for the second half of the season. All right, let's run through some of these other guys here. David Montgomery, I'm going to give him a B+, folks. Monty's been solid, didn't really do anything for me to change his opinion. He's a top 10, 15 running back in this league, probably top 10. But he's still not in that elite tier. And we saw when Monty was out, guys like Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert especially stepped up to the plate. So that dinged Monty a little bit. So I'm going to give him a B+. Allen Robinson, big fat F. He can join Matt Nagy in the F category. Abysmal season. Now, all of this is not A-Rob's fault. You got to get him the football. But too many times I've seen A-Rob just drop it, right, in the end zone. Too many times I've seen A-Rob catch it, and he can't even get past the marker, right? He can't even get the first down. I don't know if he's lost a little bit of his speed, agility, lateral quickness, whatever it is. He has not looked the same this season. Just has not looked the same. So to me, his numbers are awful. He's been droppable in fantasy football. Not that that matters, but just saying how abysmal of a season he's having. I'm going to give A-Rob an F. It's been that bad. Darnell Mooney, B. Solid as they come. The offense hasn't been good, so his numbers don't look amazing, but he's been reliable, and he's turned into the number one receiver for this Bears team with A-Rob having a garbage season. Cole Kmet, B-. Cole Kmet has come on as of late, but he should have been playing much, much better throughout the first half of the season. He had the starting job given to him. Jimmy Graham hasn't played much this season, if at all. Now, Cole Kmet is stepping up to the plate, but I need to see more. But I am impressed with what he's done the past couple of games. Offensive line as a whole, D. Not happy with this offensive line. They get Justin Fields killed in a few games, right? The Browns game comes to mind with how many sacks they did take. And it's clear this is a position of need where we need to revamp. I just grouped everybody in here together because, again, we need a completely new offensive line. Now we're going to get Tevin Jenkins back. There's some pieces here. Obviously, Lair Bourne has impressed a little bit, but for the most part, this offensive line's been awful. A D for this offensive line. All right, let's move on to the defense and running through a couple of the defensive players. Khalil Mack, I mean, what can you say, folks? He's our stud, and he's producing this season, got a couple of sacks, and we know what he can bring to the table. Robert Quinn, B+, A-. He's been producing, and the Bears D-line overall gets an A because of their play with the pass rush, right? So leading the league in sacks, and you'll love to see that. Eddie Jackson, D, maybe even an F. He's turned into a liability. He went from being one of our best defense players to one of our worst. He can't tackle this season. He's just been flat out bad, right? Just flat out bad. And to me, it wouldn't be surprised to see the Bears move on from him. Roquan Smith, A. He's been an absolute stud, and he's still underrated. Jalen Johnson, an A. He's been amazing. So to me, those are kind of the main players. Again, there's guys like Hakeem Hicks, Danny Trevathan, etc. For the most part, everyone on the D-line, linebackers, probably going to get an A to a B, right? It's really the secondary and that has struggled on the defense, which I would give like a C to. Overall, offense, going back to the offense as a whole, overall, I'm going to give it a D+. It's been abysmal, folks. A lot of that goes to Matt Nagy. But this is one of the worst offenses in the NFL. We know that. Now, the last few weeks, we've seen some explosive plays come along with Justin Fields pushing the ball down the field. Hopefully this improves. But for the most part, this offense is garbage. And it needs to improve. But we are not close to even being an average offense. That's how bad it is at this point. So it's in the bottom tier. I can't give it an F because we've still got teams like the Lions, the Jaguars out there. So I'm going to give it a D. Defense, B-, right? They've been a little bend but don't break, but this is still a solid defense, and there's plenty of bad defenses in this league, and the Bears aren't close to being that bad. So I'm going to give it a B-. As far as special teams, I'm going to give it an A. I know Cairo Santos missed like a field goal or an extra point, but for the most part, he's been flawless. Special teams in terms of the punting, kicking, has been pretty good, right? Pretty good. And then, coaching, overall, F, like I mentioned with Matt Nagy. So offense, D+, D+, defense, B-, and special teams, I give it an A. And then, coaching, I give it an F. So there you go. First half recap with grades for everybody. Let me know what you guys think. You agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.